it makes us all feel an anxiety. And if your business can say, join us on our journey to make sure that we actually reduce our planetary impact, then it makes them feel good too.
For business, if you want to be in it in the long term, you really need to focus on sustainability and make sure that you're resilient to all of the things that are happening through climate change.
I suppose sometimes we think this is obvious, but Deborah, what are the real benefits of sustainability for businesses?
So I think there was a time when it really didn't matter that much to the consumer. You know, it was kind of a thing that was going to happen in hundreds of years' time. Now we're living with climate change. So I don't think there's anybody who doesn't, it's certainly on everybody's radar, and it's now becoming a real issue for a lot of people. So the real issue for business is that they've got to talk to their consumer, and the consumer wants to hear the things that will comfort them, that will make them feel like it's okay. We're going to overcome these challenges, because climate change and nature depletion is a very, very worrying, it's an anxious thing. You know, it makes us all feel an anxiety. And if your business can say, join us on our journey to make sure that we actually reduce our planetary impact, then it makes them feel good too.
And Robin, you must have done some research into the benefits to the business. What have you seen that they are?
Well, we're living it. To Deborah's point, you know, the weather has been so bad last couple of years for farming. We have got evidence that shows that our wheat crop is down. But where our farmers are implementing what we call regenerative agriculture or sustainable farming, they are being more resilient to climate change. We're already seeing it happening. So we know that ultimately for a business, to your question about what's the benefit, for business, if you want to be in it in the long term, you really need to focus on sustainability and make sure that you're resilient to all of the things that are happening through climate change. But on the flip side, I keep coming back to sustainability in terms of social as well, is that you need to make sure people are being looked after throughout your supply chain, that you're paying the right, the sums to people so that everybody can survive and look after themselves and their families.
I think as a consumer, when you drive your car, you think about emissions. If you buy bottled water, you think about plastics. I have to admit, I've never thought about the environmental impact of my toothpaste. How do we increase people's thinking around items such as that?
It's beginning to get embedded into people's everyday psyche. And the day we don't have conversations about sustainability is my absolute day of, oh, thank goodness we're there. Because once you do start caring, once you care about the first thing, it does lead into caring about the second thing. And every day I do something that I thought, I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't realised the impact that was having. But that's because I'm conscious. That's because I care about it and I want to reduce my planetary impact. Actually taking that first step, and you talk about toothpaste and, once you start seeing that. And also, these guys, you've got a story to tell. I might not know I care, and then you tell me I care because I hadn't realised I was doing the wrong thing in the first place. And the only reason I know is you're telling me what the right thing is to do. And that starts you thinking. And we change because we care. If we don't care, nothing changes.
And Robin, there are certain trigger points that spark that sort of social consciousness. Mine is if I see an orangutan and he's hanging off the last branch of the last tree in what used to be a forest, I care about the orangutan actually more than I do myself. What are those trigger points? What are we looking for? Does it matter even?
It's a number of different things. So, for me, I know I've got small children at school. They're hearing about this. And so kind of that's one of the things is that our next generation, they're way more clued up about this and want to know more than maybe our generation. Being in the UK specifically as an organisation, we've got many of our NGOs the global NGOs are based in the UK. So there's a lot more visibility and a lot more pressure and questions being asked of businesses here as well. So there's a bit of a trigger point. But in terms of how we answer it, actually, Deborah took my answer really. For me, it's all about storytelling. Yeah, how do you get those stories out there? And it can be, and ideally, it's not in people's faces. So if you can find ways to tell the stories that are part of an ongoing whatever you're doing. So I don't know, it could be as simple as you're watching EastEnders and someone's putting their recycling out. It's subliminal, but it's there. So I think it's through storytelling.
Thanks to our experts for sharing their insights and their advice. If you'd like further tips on sustainability, then visit nestleprofessional.co.uk.